Well, it's not a motocross track. Usually when I get home from a race on Sunday, the goal is to take my son and his P-Dub to the local motocross track, but it is essentially a holiday today, Super Bowl Sunday. So suspiciously, the track is closed due to weather. Yeah, it looks terrible. So we could have ridden today. The best we're gonna do, you have to make something out of opportunities, even if the best case scenario is not in front of you. So that's what we've got. Got my kid out here on this little pump track on a Stasic electric bike. It's not a full motocross track or a full P-Dub, but we will make it work. And that is the theme to this Weege Show following the Oakland Round 5 of Monster Energy Supercross. Of course, all brought to you by Race Tech. Great suspension on that Stasic bike. It has no suspension, but your dirt bike does, so you could use a set of gold valves to make it work better. We're talking plusher, better bottoming resistance, and more traction, and gold valves are made and engineered in the United States. I'll give you a set. Go to racetech.com/contest/Weege Show to win a set of gold valves. Now let's move to Oakland. Perhaps you watched, I think he just crashed, perhaps you watched my preview show before the race. I talked about what a critical juncture this was in this series for everyone not named Eli Tomac and Ken Roczen. Those two had established themselves at 1-2 finishes in the last couple of races, and they were 1-2 in points. Cooper Webb had not been terrible, but with a mere podium finish in Oakland, if he had finished third and Ken Roczen won, he would actually somehow be an entire race behind in points. So he had to get something going, and clearly I was not the only one that figured this out. Ricky Carmichael said it about 17 times during the race day live coverage of practice and several more times on the TV broadcast. I know it's only round 5 and everyone can qualify everything with it's early, it's early, it's too early, it's too early. Look, we say it's a 17 race series. It's not a 17 race series. Usually by round 5, you pretty much know who's a contender and who's not. And by the time we get to Daytona, even though it's been said the series begins there, for the most part, whoever has the points lead there at midseason goes on to win the championship. I talked to Jeff Emig before the season, and he said, really, if you think about it, it's 6 or 7 or 8 races total to really determine who the guy in this championship is going to be. Cooper Webb's smart. Red Bull KTM team is smart. They had to have known. And you could see Cooper really pushing hard in practice. Forget this, he doesn't care about practice. He shows up in the night show. He was really trying to lay down hot laps in practice. And for him, sitting around 3rd, 4th in times most of the afternoon was a sign of improvement. Also, people were pumped on the whoops. They were shorter than the last couple of rounds. I think we got a new term here, coop whoops. They were shorter, and any perceived disadvantage he has on the whoops lately would certainly be neutralized because the whoops weren't as big, so his disadvantage would be smaller. Keep on rocking in a free world. So everything was trending in this could be the night Cooper Webb gets back into it. But guess what happened, folks, in the main event? He started up front, right there with Roczen, Tomac, and Cianciarulo. He almost passed Tomac. Tomac got away, Cooper made mistakes, and then he started going back. And that was the critical juncture that anyone trying to figure out if last year's champion could be this year's champion was now going to have to analyze. If Cooper Webb ended that race 6 or 7 seconds back from Tomac and Roczen, and he was a full race back in points after just 5 rounds, the chances of him pulling it back together would be very difficult. Now, there are some special circumstances here. Cooper Webb isn't a guy that blows you away with practice speed or anything like that. He is a gritty guy. And there is a chance that if the I'm just not as fast scenario comes together, that he could figure out another way. Plus, we all know Roczen and Tomac have been here before, and they can't always take advantage of their good fortune. Let's show you the preview show that I put together where I said those exact things. Also, oddly, in the modern history of Supercross, which I would consider 1985 is when they brought in the 125 or 250F class. That's what Amar's in now. Since that time, and let's go by. No one has ever gone into their 7th season in the Premier class and won the championship for the first time in their career. It is year 7 for both Roczen and Tomac. So that could be the one caveat everyone can hang. If they do really well this weekend in Oakland, you can always say, look, no one has ever done it this late. These guys have proven they can start a season strong or have hiccups throughout the year. So you've just got to be careful. If you're afraid they're going to get momentum, there's an easy way to maybe diffuse that a little bit. And you know a guy like Cooper Webb who's just salty, who's just a terror. He's not going to give up on it. He's going to figure out a way to try to stay in it. If it doesn't go well for Webb, that's the one thing he's going to be able to have in the back of his mind. Look, these guys have been there before and they haven't pulled it off, and I have. Now an aside that will eventually tie back into this story. Last Sunday I actually was at the regular motocross track. My son was doing some laps. All of a sudden my phone starts blowing up. That's how we get news these days. Your friends text you. The massive, tragic, sad, heartbreaking story, Kobe Bryant and 8 others perishing in a helicopter crash, which led to an entire week of everyone talking about Kobe Bryant all the time. Now, whether you follow the NBA or not, I'll just give you a brief primer. Kobe Bryant, loved by many, hated by a few. He represented everything that a sports competitor should be, which is just gritty, gnarly competitor. Maybe a little bit selfish at times, really about himself and winning, but that's what it's all about, right? Got a little battle going here. Mountain bikers love it when you have an electric little dirt bike out on the trail, I'm sure. And for all of Kobe Bryant's amazing Sports Center highlights of dunks and 81-point games and NBA championships, one game that I heard discussed a lot this week throughout his career was Game 7 of the 2010 NBA Finals, the Lakers, his team, against their hated rivals, the Boston Celtics. Now, the Boston Celtics knew that Kobe was a guy that wanted to be the hero in the moment, and they actually engineered their defense to make him shoot more in the hopes that he was going to try to take all the shots because he wanted to be the hero of the game. They called it hero ball. They encouraged this because they knew that he wanted it so bad he'd probably fail. He wanted it too badly at the beginning of the game, and he ended up shooting 6 for 24. That's 6 makes and 18 misses. A terrible game. And it looked like the Celtics were going to win, but the gritty competitor that Kobe Bryant is, he figured out a different way. He had 15 rebounds, which for a player at his size and position is a phenomenal amount. And he also made something like 8 out of 9 free throws down the stretch, and somehow the Lakers won the game. They won ugly, but they won the title. Nice. Anyway, that kind of grit is really what defines Kobe Bryant. It looks great at times, but other times he just figures out a way to get it done through pure determination, and that ended up being the Cooper Webb way down the stretch. He said after the race that he tried a little bit too hard, too soon to get Tomac, got too excited, didn't let the race come to him, didn't let the track come to him, and next thing you know, he was off the wheel. He had lost a toe, he was back, and it had to be desperate hours, desperate moments, and I think for a lot of riders, it would have been done right there. The frustration sometimes leads to arm pump, trying too hard, getting tight. But Cooper is the rare Supercross rider that can get better when his back is up against the wall, that performs best when the pressure is at its highest. This was an absolute pivotal moment, and he figured out a way to get it done by nothing more than pure grit. It was done, it was over. Adam Cianciarulo had arm pump and was fading down the stretch. Maybe Cooper would have gotten him for third anyway, but to make up 6 seconds on Ken Roczen in the final 2 laps, nearly 4 seconds on the last lap, that's unbelievable. That's the stuff you can't teach. That stuff is just pure grit. You're not gonna see it on Tuesday and Thursday when you're doing laps at the track. You're not gonna hear about it when you find out who's flying at the test track in November during the off season. It's not the Sports Center highlight like Kobe Bryant scoring 81 points or winning a slam dunk contest. Sometimes you gotta do it ugly. And you knew, by the way, when Cooper Webb got to Ken Roczen on that last lap, you knew he was gonna make the pass. He must haunt Ken Roczen's dreams with these last lap moments. You knew somehow he was gonna outfox him. That's what Cooper Webb does, and he did. He went inside that last turn. Now look, that's again, nothing beautiful about that pass, nothing dirty either. That's just 2 competitors going for it, and even Roczen said, look, there's a lot of points on the line. Roczen was obviously bummed, but he wasn't mad about Cooper Webb making contact with him. And Roczen did hurt his foot at first. You might have saw that in the TV show, but he said in the post-race press conference that it shouldn't be a problem moving forward. So that's it, man. Those were desperate moments. That Game 7 2010 NBA Finals, for 3 quarters, the Celtics had the Lakers beat, and Kobe Bryant was having one of the worst games of his career when he needed to have his best. For 3 quarters of the race on Saturday night, Cooper Webb was having one of his worst races in a race where he absolutely needed to have one of his best. He just figured out another way to get it done. Now sure, Eli Tomac still held on to win the race, but we know how much Cooper Webb feeds off of confidence. Had he left with a significant gap between Roczen and Tomac, both in points and on the racetrack, that confidence he feeds off of, I would imagine, would be long gone. He's now got to think to himself, okay, I can figure out a way to keep these guys in sight, and then all I need is a mistake from them each, and I can erase that points deficit. And as I said going into this one, we've seen those types of mistakes from Tomac and Roczen before. If you're Cooper Webb, those final 3 minutes turned everything around. It at least looks like there's a possibility that he could engineer a way to get back into this. If the race had ended 3 laps earlier, it would look like there was absolutely no way at all. Sometimes You want to go to the, yes. Sometimes you want to go to the motocross track on a P-dub. Sometimes the track's closed. Sometimes you want a whole shot and run away and just be the fastest guy. It doesn't always work that way. You've got to make the best of whatever circumstances you're dealt. That is Cooper Webb's specialty. That's what's keeping him in this right now.